Okay, to resonate an article that Vitalik wrote back in 2014. In this article, Vitalik elegantly proposed and outlined several approaches to create a stable cryptocurrency. And Chaotic MakerDAO will provide one of the solutions to achieve this goal. So before we dive into the mechanics of the stable cryptocurrency, you may wonder, why do we need a stable cryptocurrency? Why don't we just use Bitcoin? And the answer is obvious, because the fluctuation of the price of Bitcoin makes Bitcoin a less qualified candidate for the daily transaction and exchange. So I gathered data of Bitcoin price in the past 4 years, and I plot the daily median price percentage of Bitcoin. And you can see there were multiple times the price of Bitcoin changed, even fluctuated 20% in a single day, and that was a huge risk. So, isn't Bitcoin a deflationary money? And the question that people often ask is Bitcoin money? So the answer is yes and no. Bitcoin is outside money, and outside money is money that is not a liability for anyone inside the economy. This makes Bitcoin a gold-like asset, but not a currency. So the currency is an inside money. It's not only a medium of exchange, but also a unit account. It promises to pay at a par price. And that's why, through the history, we have a hierarchy of monetary system like this. So we used to have gold at the top. Now we have MPR as a final segment. And also we have a financial infrastructure to not only keep the price of money stable with regarding to the commodity, but also to keep the price of different layers of money at the par price. But we have seen the problem of this system, and that is the centralization of vision. A very few amount of people to make monetary policy for the whole economy. So the challenge is, how can we create a stable cryptocurrency, but at the same time with a decentralized structure? So after 3 years of development, we're very excited to announce that the first DAI, the first decentralized stablecoin, will be released on 17th this month. So what is Maker? So there are two main tokens in the Maker system. The first is DAI, the stablecoin. It is an asset-backed hard currency in a permissionless credit system, which means any user can lock up their valuable asset and issue as a collateral and issue DAI against it. And the system will use the dynamic autonomous interest rate to adjust the price of the DAI. At the first release, we're going to keep the price of DAI at a 1-to-1 floating ratio to the US dollar. And the second token is MPR. It is an administrative token. The user who owns MPR comprises a decentralized governance community. They decide which type of valuable asset can be used as a collateral, liquidation ratio, etc. So in exchange for their services, when a user wants to reclaim their collateral, they need to pay back the DAI plus a fee, and part of the fee will be used to buy back Maker to close the contract. So the MPR works as a fuel for the credit system. So let's go through the mechanics of the credit system. So in order to issue the DAI, first the user will open a collateralized debt position, or CDP. Then the user will lock up their valuable asset as a collateral and issue DAI. Then he can use the DAI to go long with any asset that they think the price will increase. Later he can repay the DAI and plus the fee to retrieve this collateral. And as we can see that the value of the collateral is greater than the value of the DAI, because we have to make sure the DAI is fully backed. It's fine if the value of the collateral goes up, because now the DAI will be better backed. But if the value of the collateral drops, the system has to deal with it. So if the value of the collateral drops below the liquidation ratio, the CDP will be liquidated, and the collateral will be sold to buy back the DAI, to make sure that the DAI is solvent. So what kind of collateral we are going to use at this release? We're going to use full ETH. In the future, we're going to introduce multi-asset collateral, but we're still working on that feature. So in this release, we're going to use full ETH. So it works as the following. First, the user will put their ETH in the contract, and they will receive a proportional claim on their ETH. So initially, the ratio will be 1 path and then 1 ETH. But this ratio changes over the time, depending on the performance of the system. So if the system managed correctly, the fee from the CDP will be used. There will be a continuous fee that from the outstanding CDPs. From the CDP will be used to buy and burn path. But burning path means the remaining path contain more ETH. So the value of the path will increase, appreciate. So while most of the users, they just their path and to issue DAI to go long with other asset to do margin trading, some of the users can actually hold the path and to gain the fee. However, there's a risk of the system. That is a black swan event. Although it's very unlikely to happen, but the system has to prepare for it. So when the black swan event happens, the value of the drops dramatically, even below the value of the outstanding DAI, before the liquidation process can take action. So now the system will automatically mint more paths to cover the DAI, to make sure that the price of DAI stays stable. But as we can imagine, that minting more path means that the existing path contains less ETH. So there is an upside and a downside of holding path. As I already said, part of the fee will be used to buy back and burn the path, and another part of the fee will be used to buy maker as a governance fee. So, in summary, there are 3 main user cases. The first is the normal user, who just wants to use the stablecoin for the daily exchange. He can buy the DAI as an exchange with dollar or RMB or whatever, and use the DAI to do exchange transfer by embedding in the prediction market. The second user is more advanced user. He will open the CDP and issue the DAI to do the margin trading. And third user is a user who wants to deeply engage with the system. He will hold the MKR, the governance token, to contribute and benefit from the system if they manage the system correctly. So I will end my talk with a statement that a 17th century English philosopher, Thomas Hobbes, they argued that in order to achieve a civil peace and social unity, there need to be a sovereign power granted absolute authority through the social contracts. So, but there's no contract between the sovereign and the people who granted his power. The only contract was the agreement between the people to appoint someone they would obey. So Thomas Hobbes called this superpower the Leviathan. And the first Leviathan is an organized religion. And the idea was, if people put all their trust on God and follow His will, they will behave themselves. That's why we still have ungodly trust on the US dollar. But soon, the Leviathan emerged, the nation state, in order to handle the more complex social and economic issues by the enforcement of law and taxation. So this is the greenback during the American Civil War. And it's the first time the US went off the gold standard. But now we're witnessing the new revival, the blockchain network. We're at the early age to fundamentally change the way that people interact with our, from the payment to the banking system. By empowering our dispersed knowledge under a decentralized governance system with the proper economic incentive and to create a more efficient economy. So in the future, we may see a situation that there will be thousands of private institutions to issue their cryptocurrency. As we've already seen, it's happening. But some of them will be asset, some of them might be stock, and some of them will be the stable coin. Just like the vision that 40 years ago, a Nobel Prize winner F.A. Hayek had. As he stated in his book, The Denationalization of Money, the most stable currency would win the market acceptance. So that's it. And if you want to know more information, you can visit makeitout.com. Thank you.